and then this is my final product that I'm turning in. And I think you're still learning, you know, when I was finishing it up last night, I went back and looked at week 1. I'm like, okay, well, here's what I need to edit. And now I'm relearning this information. I'm taking this into practice and changing it versus, again, tests are all just like, memorize this.
Yep.
And I'm going to see how well you can memorize it.
Yeah. And how often are you going to need to know this specific question?
Yeah. Sure. Whereas I think math tests are actually really good because math is a definitive answer.
Yeah.
And it's like, all right.
It's objective. Yeah.
Memorize this theory, memorize Pythagorean's theorem. Here's a problem that you're going to have to use it and show me that you know how to do the work. And then down the road, you know what? I'll have resources to do it, but I still know how to do it. I still have the fundamental basis behind it. Whereas, you know, there's some things that are really subjective, like, you know, tell me
any communications degree,
or even,
I mean, let's be honest,
you know, any English theory, right? Like,
yeah, no, English is a good one too. Like,
because it's very subjective. And like, if I give you the question of like, explain to me Romeo and Juliet's relationship and why do you think it would not be effective in the year 2020 versus whenever it was, right? And so you and I and you could have all different views on it. We could all be right because it's our opinion.
And there's no objective answer to it. That's why I was really grateful that I had such an awesome like English teacher when I was going to college, because when he would assign a paper to us, we wrote like 4 papers throughout the year. And he would really stress it to us that, guys, I do not care what it's about. He would have certain rules, like you guys need to use, like, you know, he would have like shit like certain like transition sentences, kind of stuff like that. You know, it would basically need to be like a certain amount of pages, you know, your intro paragraph, your body paragraph, and like he would have these like objective literal rules that you would have to follow, but what you ever like actually wrote about, he didn't give a fuck. Yeah, you know what I mean? He wasn't grading you based how good your story was. He was grading you if you could actually like understand like these literature rules. Yeah. Like, because there are all rules to it.
Yeah, there are. I mean, it also depends on like the style of paper you're writing. Like, we write all our papers for publication, so they're not narrative. They're more narrative than they are feeling based, right? Like all the papers you write in high school, they're all like, this is what I feel and this is what I think. Where mine are all like, here's what the research shows.
Here are the facts.
Here are the facts. Here's my sources that I've cited, because there's 20 of them. Yeah. And here is the evidence that I'm providing for my conclusion and for my basis on this.
Should we read the professor chat? Okay. The inability to dismiss the testers causes people to question how we, all caps, teach people, all caps, instead of simply teaching those ready to learn. It's almost as if public education was designed to prevent people from learning. Child labor law is no accident.
All right, so I would completely disagree with Phil on this one, because the public education system is designed to give a foundation of knowledge, and you might be like, well, what am I ever going to use? Why am I ever learning how to sew in my home economics class? Or when am I ever going to use Pythagorean's theorem? Or when am I ever going to use credits and debits that I'm learning in my high school accounting class? It's all building a foundation to figure out what you are good at and what you want to study going forward. And so that's what the public education system does. And they have a curriculum and be like, all right, it's a ton of knowledge, but we're going to let you have this basic foundation of it, and how you want to apply it is kind of up to you. Yeah. You can go to high school and get straight A's.
We'll lay the foundation for you. You choose what side you want to build on, though.
Yep.
Phil says, of course, I would disagree with him. Yep. And so I think the public education system does have failures in it, and there's, you know, teachers that are tenured that just don't really care about students and watching them.
It says you're confusing learning with the function of the system.
Okay, so the system's not for learning, or is the system flawed?
The system is flawed.
Well, I keep thinking, like, in my head, you know, going back to like summative and final assessment, is I don't even think you should have any grades until the very end.
Right. Well,
because whatever I was learning or wasn't learning in the middle doesn't mean shit. It's the final assessment.
Yeah. Well, and even then, like in high school,
you know, it's the very end of the year. You know, a teacher can go, oh, okay, he was failing here, he wasn't understanding this, but at the end, he's now got it.
He got his shit together. Yeah.
So now that's what you should be graded on. You should be graded on the very, very end, right?
Yeah, you should grade on the final project, and that's where I think the weighted graded system is really good. I still think you should grade the effort so you can see continually where you're at and where you need improvement. versus just feedback too. Be like, okay, this is where areas of need improvement. This is where I've got this. Same thing, right? There's weeks in my paper where they were like, a lot of good knowledge, a lot of good sources. So I didn't have to go back and edit those really at all. And there were ones where it like need more depth, need better sources. So then I went and edited those. And they were all graded. And so I could look at it and be like, okay, well, that was the basis I was using, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I still think you should be grading all the work that's done between the beginning and the end. But I feel like the final project should be weighted.
So why should you be graded from the beginning, though? That part I don't understand. Because they can grade you, but should that be part of your final grade?